I made $100,000 selling my passion product on Amazon in under 6 months.
And we're going to share with you what Jeremy sells on Amazon, how he did it, and every single cost he had, including startup costs, design costs, and all the other costs. Because you can start an Amazon business with little to no money if you know the secret that Jeremy used to launch his product. Jeremy, how did you start this business?
I had a 9-to-5 job and had a passion for inventing things and trying to pitch products to companies and not having success with it. Did that for several years, and I saw how big of an opportunity Amazon was because of their infrastructure.
And Amazon has over 300 million Prime customers. They're a $1 trillion company. Last year alone, they did over $500 billion in sales, and they allow people like you, me, Jeremy, to sell our products on their website. It's a huge opportunity. There's over 200,000 sellers that are making over $100,000 per year, and Jeremy is one of them.
So when I found out this trend on Amazon, I actually had a few ideas at that point and basically filtered out which ones I was passionate about that also could potentially generate a lot of income for me at the beginning. It had a lot of potential, and that's how I landed on Slim Caddies. Slim Caddy is an organizer that basically doesn't take up shelf space in your cabinets. I basically created it because I had a lot of tumbler lids, drink lids, a lot of lids, frankly, and didn't have a way to actually store them. And I found that all the organizers on the market were just a little bit too big.
This was something that did not exist that you wish existed, so you created it. It's the perfect product.
Exactly.
But you had a full-time job, and I know you weren't ready to quit your job yet. What made you decide to pursue Slim Caddy?
I actually was a PA in elective spine surgery. So eventually work was slow, found Travis's YouTube video, and then eventually I was let go from my job because of how slow it was. During that time, needed a way to pay the bills, and found, of course, was watching Travis's course and just found everything with Amazon, and that's kind of when I jumped right in.
And if you're new to the channel, my name is Travis. I actually had a corporate job. I ended up quitting my corporate job cold turkey. I started an Amazon business that was doing over 6 figures in passive income, and I started teaching people like Jeremy how to start their own Amazon business. So smash the like button, because we're gonna show you exactly how Jeremy was able to start a $100,000 Amazon business in 6 months. Jeremy, share with us how you did it and all your costs. And what was your first cost?
So it started with design the product. It cost $0 for me to do that. Just some research and design at my own house, believe it or not. Was able to, a kitchen product, was able to use my own home as a testing facility, if you will. After that was finding someone on Alibaba.
Talk about how did you find your manufacturer on Alibaba? And obviously, for those at home that don't know, finding someone on Alibaba is free. You don't have to pay anything from it. You can just go to alibaba.com and start searching. How did you find your first manufacturer?
Basically going to Alibaba, looking through the manufacturers, and found ones that had great reviews, were on there for a little bit longer than the rest of them, had great expertise in their field. Some of them I even valued because of the input they had on my product itself for design.
And then the next step was you got a sample. How much did that cost, and what was that process like?
So the samples, actually, it was more than one sample. It was about 20 samples, because I strategically made it so I could send some to influencers for the launch. And that, it was about $250.
So $250 for 20 samples, and that wasn't dead money. That was actually used as marketing, and we'll talk about that later. But there was an issue with your first factory. What happened?
So I found out the first production run was going to cost about $17,000, and I didn't have that kind of money.
And if you don't have enough money to start an Amazon business, you can use the secret that Jeremy used that I'll explain in just a second to crowdfund your product. Jeremy, how'd you do it?
Yeah, so I raised about $11,000 doing the Kickstarter.
And tell me, how much did it cost you to actually run your Kickstarter?
So kind of being scrappy and hungry, not a lot of funds available. Basically used influencer marketing, didn't cost
$0 right there. And then you shot the video for the Kickstarter yourself.
Shot on my phone using the InShot app.
So another $0 for that. But there was an issue. After your first week on Kickstarter, you'd only raised $3,000. And the way that Kickstarter works is you had a goal of $10,000. And if Jeremy didn't hit that $10,000 mark, he would get nothing. And usually the first week of a Kickstarter is when you make most of the money. So how are you feeling at that point?
Yeah, not good at all. Frankly, I kind of knew that it was going to be tough because I didn't have, I kind of jumped in, literally was this is now or never. Didn't build a massive email list, used Facebook groups like Travis will talk about in his passion product formula course. That really helped. That was actually kind of my bedrock for making funds on my first couple days, but it wasn't enough.
So then what'd you do after that?
I basically did a lot of cross promotions with other Kickstarters. Try to get that Kickstarter fan base behind my product. And then even, just being a kitchen product, decided to go around my own neighborhood, knocking on doors and literally giving them little pamphlets about it. Even Christmas time, put a candy cane on the actual thing, just generate that emotional connection with them.
And when Jeremy told me that he'd only raised $3,000 in the first week, I was nervous. But then when he told me that he's knocking on doors, he's getting scrappy, It got me excited, and he ended up raising the $10,000 he needed 2 days before the end of his Kickstarter and finished with $11,000. And at this point, you took that money, you went to your manufacturer to get the product made, and what happened?
The manufacturer I had the samples made for the influencers, that same manufacturer kind of bailed on me. They actually were scheduled out too far in advance, couldn't get me in, so I instantly was back at ground zero trying to find another manufacturer.
And then from there, you did find a second manufacturer, but there was another issue.
So basically, I did a factory audit just to assess this factory in China because I wanted to work with them long term. Didn't know a whole lot about them beyond Alibaba. They got like a D or F on the factory audit. So that really terrified me. You know, especially being new into this business, I didn't want to work with someone who failed that bad at a factory audit. So then again, back at square one.
So what'd you do next?
I basically found this other manufacturer. It was really good. Decided to move forward with them based on their camaraderie I had with them. And they were the ones who ended up making the first production run.
And when you found this third manufacturer, it was time to send them the money. Were you nervous? Were you scared about sending $17,000 overseas?
So most manufacturers, they actually take 30%. So that's a huge thing. So you don't have to sweat it so hard, right? Because you can only you only have to give them 30% of the funding up front. And then that gives you time to develop your packaging, right? And get on whatever else you need to do to start your business.
And then after your product was manufactured, the next step is to get your product sent from overseas into an Amazon warehouse, and you have to do shipping. And there's two types of shipping you can do. There's air shipping and sea shipping. Air shipping is going to be faster but more expensive. Sea shipping, on the other hand, is slower, but it's going to be a lot cheaper. And you ended up doing both. At first, you did air shipping to send it to your Kickstarter backers. How much money did you spend on the air shipping?
Air shipping cost me about $3,000.
And that was to send 1,000 units from your manufacturer to your house so that you could send out to the Kickstarter backers. The rest of the other 2,000 plus units you did via sea shipping. And how much did that cost you?
$2,000. And I really wanted to do that air shipping up front because I needed to get these backers their orders. They're having all these backers, they're kind of waiting for their products, right? So you want to get those down as quickly as possible. So that's why I split it.
And now it's finally time for Jeremy to launch his product on Amazon, and we're going to share with you his first month honest results. But before we do that, there were a couple other costs in order for you to launch on Amazon. The first was getting photos for your product. How much did you spend on the photos for your Amazon listing?
Absolutely $0. I used my own phone in my own home using some of the samples that I had from my original manufacturer, did some work with Canva and InShot on my phone, these applications, and basically was able to create the whole listing through my phone and the apps on the computer.
Another cost you're going to have when launching a product on Amazon is a UPC barcode. And you spent $250 on this, but you can actually get a UPC barcode if you just have one product for $30. And another optional fee you may want to consider is a trademark. And how much did it cost you for your trademark?
$250 was real easy to file. It took me a couple minutes.
You don't need to hire a lawyer. You can do it yourself. And now let's talk about Jeremy's first month results selling on Amazon. And in his first month, he did over $17,000 in sales.
Let's go.
Bam!
Yeah.
Jeremy, explain, how did you do this?
So you have to understand Amazon's a search engine and you need to have people be able to find your product.
And people go to Amazon, they search for products that they want to buy. And when they search for products, what do they see? They see the photo, they see the title, they click on it, they might see your actual bullet points and things like that. We already talked about how Jeremy optimized all those things. Another thing you have to keep in mind is you want to drive traffic from outside of Amazon to your listing. How did you get people to go to your Amazon listing and start buying?
So basically had these influencer relationships that I had cultivated through the Kickstarter and had new influencer relationships basically that helped me build a substantial audience that we generated our traffic on day one.
So you got those influencers to post about your product. People saw this on Instagram and on all the different apps. They went to Amazon to buy the product. And that leads us to the third step. If you want to have success on Amazon, you need to get reviews. How did you go about getting as many reviews as possible?
I used this Amazon Vibe program to help generate some really great reviews and showed a little bit more social proof to give people the confidence to buy my product.
Now keep in mind that $17,000 is revenue and not profit. Let's break down some of the costs. So first off, you had the cost to manufacture and produce all these products that you sold. How much money did you spend to produce the products that you sold in that first month?
It's about $5,700 or so.
The next fee you have when selling on Amazon is the 15% Amazon referral fee. And anytime you sell a product on Amazon's website, they charge you a little bit of money. They charge you 15%. How much money did you spend on that fee?
$2,500 or so.
Another fee that you have to think about is the Amazon FBA pick and pack fee. And for those that don't know, FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon. This is where you send in the products that you want to sell on Amazon's website to their warehouse. And when you get an order, Amazon picks, packs, and ships out the product for you. Also keep in mind when you do this, it makes your product Prime eligible. But you do have to pay a little bit of money because you have to pay for their handling and their shipping. How much money did you pay for Amazon FBA?
I think it was about $4,000. It's about $364 a unit.
Jeremy also spent $215 in other Amazon fees. These are fees that nobody tells you about, but it's things like receiving fees, storage fees, and other random things like that. Another thing that people don't consider is you actually paid for Amazon PPC. And PPC stands for pay per click. This is a way for you to advertise your product on Amazon where you pay a little bit of money every time someone clicks on your ad. How much did you spend in PPC in your first month?
About $3,700.
And on top of all these other costs in your first month, you also spent another $2,000 in other fees.
Definitely adds up. Yeah.
How much money in profit did you make your first month?
Whew, so it ended up being negative, almost a negative $1,000.
How did you feel about that?
Not good, but I knew that a lot of those other fees were actually going to intellectual property that was going to benefit in the long run.
And we're going to talk about later in this video how Jeremy got a patent for his product without spending any money on legal fees. But keep in mind, in your first month with a new business, you might lose money. But what happened in your second month? How much money in revenue did you do?
Almost $27,000.
And let's break down all the costs from month 2 and talk about the product. But if you are looking to sell on Amazon, I do have a free Amazon FBA course I'm going to share with you at the end of this video. And in your second month, after we subtract out the product cost, the Amazon selling fee, all the different fees, how much profit did you make?
Almost $5,500.
Bam, in his second month already, he was profitable. And I know in your first month you were a little bit nervous. How did it feel in your second month to already be profitable?
Really good, especially going through everything at that point. To hit $5,500 or so in profit was major. Felt great.
So at this point, how did your wife feel about the business?
She was a little hesitant, up to this point, but after started seeing this revenue come in, she was a little bit more for everything. Started opening up.
In month 3, revenue went down a little bit. You were at $18,000 revenue. How much profit did you do in month 3?
About almost $2,500 or so.
Were you nervous that the numbers had gone down?
Good question. No, I wasn't, because I knew that this product, the peak season, was when I first launched, and just knew that I was starting to get into this mindset of a steady flow of learning more from a business standpoint of how to run an Amazon business.
And one thing we didn't mention actually is in your first month selling on Amazon, that's when your patent got approved, and we'll talk in depth about that in just a minute, but let's talk about month 4 numbers. In month 4, you made $13,000 in revenue. How much money in profit?
Almost $1,000.
How about in month 5? How did you do in sales?
Yeah, about $16,500.
How much in profit was that?
About $1,700.
So at this point, you're seeing steady numbers, you're seeing good profit margins. How are you feeling now?
Pretty good about it. And knowing that my first inventory order was a little bit more than I knew that I could get it down to over time.
And in month 6, you went back up to $17,000. How much money in profit did you do?
About $1,900 or so.
And in total, in Jeremy's first 6 months, he made over $100,000 in revenue, over $10,000 in profit. But he did make 2 really big mistakes, so pay attention, including one mistake that cost him over $10,000. And the first mistake you made was about patents. You want to talk a little bit about how you did your patent and what you would do if you had to do it over again?
That's a good question. It wasn't really a mistake more than if I had to do it over again, I would actually hire an attorney to do it, because I did it, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of time.
But this is a key point. It is possible to do it on your own. And how much money did it cost you to get a patent?
About $800 for the grant and everything. But with that came a lot of time of working with a patent examiner, a lot of prosecution over years, frankly.
And usually if you want to get a patent, it's going to cost you $10,000, if not $20,000 with a lawyer. But this is a key insight. You don't need to hire a lawyer. You can do it yourself. The second and the real big mistake that Jeremy made, and almost everybody makes this mistake, was waiting to launch the business. Talk a little bit about that.
I guess it wasn't really waiting. It was just this issue with my factories, and it taken months of my time to find a manufacturer that could actually make it for me.
And here's the key insight. Jeremy made over $10,000 profit in his first 6 months. If he would have been able to launch his business 6 months earlier, he could have made an extra $10,000 profit. And most people get stuck in analysis paralysis. They never start their business. But what they don't realize is every minute that you're waiting to start your Amazon business, your online business, you're losing money because you could have been making so much money. So get started today. I have a completely free 5-hour Amazon FBA course that you can get by clicking here. So click on that video. I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.